Isn't that always the moment in the movie, though? Like in the Hunger Games or whatever, there's always this moment where one person stands up and then there's like the deathly silence of, oh no, they're going to get killed for saying that. Yeah. And then someone else stands up, and then someone else stands up, and someone else stands up. And then before you know it, everyone's standing up, and there's too many people. It's too much to fight against, So suddenly you have a revolution.
Let's be the revolution, man.
Yes, you go first.
Pretty much unknown. You after you. Why do we have to do these so early? I hate that you're 8 hours away.
Totally different energy. I'm like 3 p.m. Woo! Good day to you all, and welcome to Dropped. We really want to give you an update on the state of the music industry right now, on what we're up to, and make sure that our listeners are the most clued up listeners in the industry. We want to make sure that you guys know what's going on, who's going on,
where it's going on,
and when it's
how
going on.
How it's going on.
Which is when is now. I'll let you in on that one.
Yeah.
And how it's going on is a complete shit show. So I hope you enjoy this episode of Dropped. We don't know what we're going to call it yet, but let's call it something like Shit Abandon Ship.
Abandon Ship. No, it's not abandon ship. Yeah, we can't abandon ship. The whole point is to stay on the ship and go down with it. Let's go down with the ship. How are you all? I wanted to start this episode off by just thanking you all, because so far this podcast has been great and everyone seems to be enjoying themselves. Our numbers are going up, which is promising, meaning that we're keeping your attention, which is, that's the job. It's the job these days, keep the attention in a good way. We're very grateful. We're grateful for the comments and the video messages that we've had, and we're going to keep doing what we're doing because it appears to be making you all entertained. I almost nailed that entire sentence. I almost got there. Anyway, in all seriousness, thank you so much for your support. Every time you download an episode or rate it or review it, it helps us. It pushes our little tiny podcast a little higher in the algorithm or whatever. Matt can explain all that. Over to you, Matt.
Well, an algorithm is a set of code that actually self-learns and increases the standing of the podcast in the podcast ranking system. And how does it do that? Well, what we've done is we've come with a another algorithm that very, very cleverly measures that algorithm. And who looks after that algorithm? We made another one. You guessed it. Algorithm upon algorithm, that is the future. No humans needed. Yeah, I also want to say thank you. Thanks, guys, so much for listening. Everything Greg said, I concur. Yeah, and we're just grateful to have you guys and have your attention. Now let us sell you something. Squarespace at only £9.99 a month. You need it. You know you do. Look at your website is rubbish. Look at it. Put it through Squarespace. It's going to be beautiful.
Well, I actually use Squarespace. So, hopefully we will get that ad one day and I can genuinely say that it makes websites look great. Wow, we really sound like we're sponsored by Squarespace. We are not.
We're not, no.
Yet.
Who are we sponsored by? Let's put a call out. Anyone want to sponsor this podcast? So we've said thank you. Let's tick that off the list, Greg.
And now we want to let you know what we're up to, because we are indeed both trying to have careers still beyond the podcast. I think that most people who listen to this podcast are probably fans of ours. That means you're at least a little bit interested in what we're doing. Matt, what are you up to? It's nearly Christmas. What are you up to?
I am wrapping Christmas presents as we speak. Dressed like a little elf with a little bell on my head. So if you hear that go from time to time. I'm in my little studio. I have been working on some acoustic demos and versions of songs. I've been picking through the stems on my album and seeing if I can make something cool out of them. I've been making different versions of the songs.
Oh, cool.
So I think that could be interesting. I've been doing that. I recently came back from Berlin, where I played a bunch of shows, small acoustic intimate shows for a company called So Far Sounds. So Far Sounds should sponsor this podcast.
They really should. I've played a few of those and they're really great events.
How do we get them to do that? Anyone know So Far Sounds and who we can get to sponsor this podcast? We need like one of the good companies, like Patreon, So Far Sounds. Who else is good?
I think that's it.
Tidal? Tidal seem to pay a lot. Bandcamp, one of those. Come on, come sponsor us.
Yeah, someone's going to be listening.
So yeah, played a bunch of shows for them. That was really wholesome. Sold out of vinyl at those shows and met a lot of people and just found that I was actually making an impact in a way that I never do on social media. And I was like, well, this is how I started. I was the busker. I was the guy constantly playing shows. And then I had a bit of success and moved everything online. Why did I do that when I love performing live so much?
Yeah.
And why do I keep trying to hack the algorithm when I could just go out with my guitar, find a room full of people and play for them? Because that seems to have way more of an impact, even online, than anything else. So that has really swayed me to just search for a bunch of gigs and shed this whole ego-driven idea that if the shows are small, then I'm going backwards. I think a ton of small shows add up to a big show. And at the right time, I'll do...
Das ist sehr geil.
Pardon?
Das ist sehr geil.
Well, das certainly ist. Yeah, I'm booking a ton of shows, and yeah, I think that answers your question. Making this podcast, which takes an inordinate amount of time every week.
It really does. I'm amazed at how much time goes into this podcast, considering we only release every 2 weeks and the episodes are less than an hour long. I'm amazed. I have so much respect when I hear these really well-produced podcasts. I mean, I think ours is pretty well-produced as well, but we spend an insane amount of time doing it. So
yeah, I think a lot of those really, really well-produced ones have a team of people, I hope. Otherwise, just one person driving themselves insane in a basement somewhere, spending 24 hours a day doing it.
Incredibly familiar.
It also helps you understand why. This is a statistic that I learned about podcasts recently, which is that 90% of podcasts don't make it past their 10th episode, and 99% of podcasts don't make it past their 20th episode. So we're up to episode 7?
Well,
7
only
now.
Time will tell, Matt, if we make it past episode 10. Wish
About
us luck,
to record
everybody.
number 8. And we're on the verge of a gigantic Gallagher Brothers style fallout.
Are we?
I'm fuming with you.
Well, you got to ask me what I'm doing. It's not all about you, Matt.
What are you doing, Greg? What have you been up to?
Well, speaking of sitting in basements going crazy, that's what I've been doing. I've been preparing for the release of this new album. I have an album coming out on January 16th.
We got a date?
Yes. I am currently driving myself mad doing all of the work. So I don't have a label anymore, so not only did I write and produce the entire album, I have done all the artwork for it. I've made all the promo videos for it. I booked all the shows. I'm doing 2 residencies, one in Portland, Oregon for 4 months, January, February, March, April, and one in Los Angeles for 3 months, February, March, and April. I've done all of this myself, and I'm very tired. And every day I just feel like I'm staring at my screen, trying to put files in certain places and upload music into certain places, and I'm going nuts. Is what's happening, Matt. I'm going nuts. I'm excited to finally have the album out and then go out there and play some shows, because that's really what this all leads to. But there's a lot of admin that goes into this if you want to do it right. And I'm probably not even doing it right, but I'm doing it the only way I know how. And I am trying to figure out how I'm going to release it. I'm releasing it on vinyl on January 16th. Pre-sales actually began a few days ago on my website, gregholdenonline.com. And by this point, if my calculations are also correct, I should have a single out called Fuck It.
Wow, playlistable.
Very playlistable. Anyway, I'm probably not going to put this album out via streaming, which we will get to in this episode. I don't know if it's a terrible career move, but I know that it's a move that I need to make for my own morals.
At all? At any point?
I'm probably going to put a handful of singles from the album out on streaming, but I'm pretty decided that I'm not going to put the whole album on streaming. Ever.
Right.
But I might change my mind. I'm known to do that.
Did you come to that decision after speaking to Rob Abelow in our episode a couple of episodes ago?
He certainly helped. Again, we probably will get into this in the episode, but I just don't want to devalue my music by putting it onto a valueless platform.
What about what Violetta was saying then? You're not going to enter the world of music NFTs?
I probably won't do that because I don't understand it. So basically, I'm going to sit in my basement and hope people go on my website and buy my vinyl, and then I'm going to get mad when they don't, and then I'm going to be sad.
No, we're not going to allow that.
This is a great plan. I'm going to sell my vinyl at my shows, which I don't do many of, So that's a good plan. I don't tour anymore, so it's a solid plan, Matt. Trust me. I'll do a digital download on my website too.
I think that's important.
I mean, it has to be available digitally. That would be absolutely insane. That would be total insanity. So there will be a digital download on my website, and there will be vinyl on my website and CDs, as it turns out, because I've got a lot of people asking me why I don't have some of my records on CDs anymore. I didn't realize that so many people still buy CDs. So I just ordered some a few weeks ago, and that will be also an option.
Right.
I'm actually boring myself right now. Is that I just bored myself.
I get what you're saying, though. I mean, I get your approach. What I would say, if it were me, if I were you, why not put it on vinyl and CDs first with a digital download all at the same time first? So that means anyone who values it enough to actually buy it can, and they get priority, and they get the first few months of listening, and then follow that up by only putting it on a few select streaming platforms who meet your standards. So you say, right, these are the standards. This is where I want all streaming platforms to get to. I want them to get to 1 cent a stream or whatever. And these are the ones that meet that. And everything below, it's going on Apple Music, it's going on Tidal, but it ain't going on YouTube Music because they pay the lowest, and it isn't going on Spotify because they pay close to the lowest. Wouldn't that be a nice educational signpost for your fans?
Yes, perhaps. And I think that in order for me to make that right decision, I need to do more research myself into what is so good about those platforms and why I would be choosing them over the mainstream ones. So that is up to me to do. That is on me to go research and figure out. But I guess I'm just trying to put my money where my mouth is and take a stand in what I believe in terms of the value of music. And by throwing it up to a lot of these platforms, it just becomes devalued immediately. And I'm not going to do that. I value what I've just done. There is value in what I've just done. A lot of money has gone into what I've just done. So I'm not just going to throw it up and have it be streamed for free forever. And that's no disrespect to the listener, but that is my current stance.
I'm trying to think of what is, because I feel like by the end of this series, we're talking about this and thinking about this enough that we should be able to set out a blueprint, the dropped blueprint of what a fair release looks like in 2024. And I think your album's a good example of that. I've got things in the pipeline that will come out soon that I want to come up with my own tactics for as well. And so we get to road test these things. But I feel like, what if...
Well, that was the whole point, wasn't it, of this podcast?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What if it was a case of these things don't hit streaming, and they only hit streaming on the places that we feel actually value our music and aren't trying to devalue it and ruin our career. But it only goes up on streaming when it's recouped. So if you say...
Oh, that's interesting.
It goes up on the streaming services that you feel meet your standards and that are fair to the artist and the creators around a record when the record has recouped.
That's not a bad idea.
That could be interesting.
That's very interesting. Yeah, I think what I'm trying to do is keep it simple, but it's not a simple answer, is it? So it's like,
no.
I think I'm like, no streaming. That just keeps it very simple, but it's not the answer, I don't think.
It's more nuanced than that.
It just feels weird picking certain ones and leaving other ones out. That feels weird, but it shouldn't.
Yeah, but then that gets the listener asking the question of why is Greg's album on Tidal but not Spotify?
But not on Spotify, yeah.
And then that gives you a chance to answer that question. And then maybe they go, hey, that's bullshit. I didn't realize they were doing that. I'm going to move over to this other streaming platform.
Let's just hope the CEO of Tidal isn't investing our money also into arms and weapons.
Yeah.
Anyway, today we are going to talk about the state of our industry as it currently is. We're going to be looking at some examples of artists who are starting to make a stand. We're going to be talking about how fortunate we feel that we're not the only ones sitting here going, I think it's all fucked. I think there's a lot of artists.
Some big voices joined
voices coming out, yeah.
Joined the chorus recently. Obviously, quite clearly, because they must have listened to our first few episodes.
Yes, but, of course. We've inspired a generation of artists.
The likes of James Blake, Julia Michaels, Sam Ryder have all gone independent this year. Chapel Roan kind of blew up this year independently off the back of an independent model. So we're seeing independent artists and indie labels take a much bigger market share than they previously were. And we're seeing previously major artists go, hey, this ain't working for me anymore. I'm going to try the independent route. James Blake was probably one of the most outspoken of those earlier this year. He left his label and he went on social media at the point that he started to comb through his statistics and his streaming rates and started to announce a tour and try and reach his fans. And he was like, finally, this is back in my hands. This has always been a label job. And I'm realizing that I don't have any of this information. How do I not have any of this information? This is ridiculous. So he was trying to announce and sell out a tour in the way that yourself and I have done many times and had the realization that we've had, which is, why don't I have any of the email addresses of the people that were at the last show in London or in Portland or in LA or in New York? And that's because when you give your email address to the ticketing site, when you buy your ticket, they hold that and they ask you whether you want to opt into their marketing. If you do opt in or if you don't opt out of their marketing, you are on their list. They don't share that list with us. So if we choose to go through them again, then they can send an email blast out to you. But if we choose to go with someone else, then they can't. So this is the big, we talked with Rob Abelow about this quite a bit, but this is the data heist on musicians that has been occurring, where data is collected on our fan bases, from our fan bases, but not shared with us as artists.
So we have no way of contacting you again.
Yeah. So James Blake realized that and released a big what the fuck is going on reel about it and gained a lot of
to which he then realized that he couldn't reach half of his Instagram followers either.
Yeah.
So he was like, first of all, here's this big old data heist that I'm having trouble dealing with. And then also, oh shit, nobody on Instagram is seeing my posts. He posted one thing where he's like, is anyone actually seeing my posts?
Yeah.
Because that's, I mean, we've talked about this multiple times, but it's, we post something and it goes to 5-10% of our followers. So you're trying to promote a tour, and also the platforms, they know when you're trying to promote something, so they push it down.
Yeah.
Trying to promote a show, it sees that there are dates, it sees that you're saying show, it reads all the information on the post, and it pushes it down so no one sees it.
That's why you'll see me and Greg either spacing out all the letters when we mention Patreon.
Yeah.
Or we'll put
I'll do pay and then like an emoji of a tree and then on.
Yeah. Exactly. Anything to kind of trick the system.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't want us to lead anyone off the platform. It doesn't want us, it wants you to do it all there. But I mean, it's such an abusive relationship, isn't it?
It really is.
It wants to hold you there, but it won't give you what you need when you're there. Yeah. But you're not allowed to leave. It's an awful
That's totally what it is. You nailed it.
Yeah. So anyway, James Blake has realized this and has become this outspoken indie artist. So yeah, James, great to have you if you're listening, which I'm sure you're not. If anyone knows James, please send it on to him.
Yeah.
And he started to, upon realizing how low streaming royalties were, now started to release some versions of his songs and demos on a platform which is very Patreon-like called vault.com, which is a monthly subscription, I think $5 a month to get access to his vault. And you essentially get access to like a Dropbox folder where he can drop any kinds of music or behind the scenes stuff in every month. So he's doing that. So yeah, it's good to have James in the revolution. Another example as well I wanted to talk about was, I don't know if you saw Sam Ryder in the UK. He was another one talking about TikTok, a mega talented guy who blew up out of TikTok. His voice is insane. Yeah, he's like Freddie Mercury reincarnated.
Yeah, it's so crazy.
Crazy. He's a good guitarist.
I watched a live video of him and I was like, is that a studio recording and he's just miming over it? Or like
he's insane. He's so good. And because he was so great, during the whole COVID lockdown period, he just was throwing so many covers up of impossible to sing songs, Whitney Houston songs, Mariah Carey songs.
Oh, wow.
Up on TikTok and just gaining millions of followers. And because he was blowing up on this platform, that everybody's label was going, oh, you should do more on TikTok. These stars started to reach out to him. So Alicia Keys suddenly was duetting his performance of her song.
Wow.
Or they would appear in the same live or whatever. So he blew up that way. And signed to a major record label. And his route to kind of mainstream fame off the back of the TikTok thing was that he then became the UK's entrant into the Eurovision Song Contest, which is historically a very cheesy song show.
Did you watch the Will Ferrell movie about that?
Yeah.
It's so good. It's so good.
So yeah, he appeared as our entrant into there with a song that he wrote called Spaceman, which is a great song. Yeah, so he came second and suddenly was in the mainstream in the UK. Massive new artist everywhere. And then just as he was blowing up, maybe 3 singles in, his label, because they fucking do this shit, inexplicably, he's having massive success, sacked his whole team, or next to his entire team that he'd worked with, that he'd helped him get to this point. And he found himself in this position where everybody who he trusted at the label and who had been doing a great job for him was sacked for some like reshuffle reason. So he released an Instagram video where he just said, this is what's happened. I don't understand why it's happened. But what we've realized is that I have something in my record deal called a key man clause.
Smart lawyer.
A key man clause means that this person at the record label is my champion. They're the person who found me. They might be the A&R person. They're the person who took me to the label, who really believes in what I do. I'm signing to this label partly because of this person and because I want to work with this person. Mm-hmm. So therefore, you guys have to keep this person on my team. Otherwise, it will invalidate my contract. So
which I think is really great because it stops A&Rs from being completely screwed over when they find amazing talent, right?
Yeah, it helps both parties. It helps the artist and it helps the A&R.
Yeah, like you said, champion.
Like you said, that you were signed by the head of a record label who was then sacked. So your champion suddenly wasn't there.
Yeah, and then I got dropped swiftly after that.
Exactly, because the new team come in and they go, oh, who's this? We want to sign our own people. Yeah. We don't care about the people who are already there. Yeah. So he had a key man clause, and he was faced with this dilemma of, okay, I can actually just get out of my deal now if I want to. I can just terminate the contract, and off the back of all of this marketing and my career flying high, I can now take control of it myself, or I can just continue and hope things go well with the new team. He very bravely decided to get out of the deal and went independent, and he's now independent, which I think is just amazing.
It's not surprising that there's more and more artists doing this because labels make these stupid fucking decisions like this. It happened to me when I was signed to Warner Brothers. Right when I signed my deal, I had this song called Boys in the Street that I'd recorded an album version of, but it hadn't yet been released. But I'd also recorded a demo version for some friends of mine who ran an organization called Everyone is Gay. And that was to go on their compilation. And so that was posted online. When they released it, they posted my demo version online. I don't know how, but it got in the hands of Tom Hanks, the actor. And he tweeted the song. He tweeted a link to where you can listen to it. And he said, I just heard the perfect song, which to me, I'd shit my pants. I couldn't believe that happened. But my point to this whole thing is that the label, instead of allowing that version to create some sort of viral moment for me or allowing that version to spread so that it can lead to more promotion for me, made them take it down. They made them take it down like days after Tom Hanks. Not even days, I don't think. Because you know why?
Why?
Because they had no ownership over that recording. I did.
Right.
They owned the album version of Boys in the Street. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if it was, I'm sure it wasn't malicious.
Could they even legally make them take it down if they didn't own it?
I don't really know, actually. Now that I look back on it, I'm not with the same manager anymore. I mean, I feel like my manager probably should have fought a little harder for that because what a stupid idea. And then they spent the entire rest of the 2-year campaign of my album trying to promote Boys in the Street desperately in all these other crazy ways. And it's like,
trying to make another moment.
You just had one of the biggest actors in the fucking world call this song perfect. And you made the people who are hosting the song on their website take it down.
And that's like prime Twitter, idiots. Right? That's like, what, 20? What was the year?
This was 2014.
2014, one of the biggest actors in the world tweets about your song saying this is the perfect song with a link as well.
And no one could hear it because it had been taken down. It's so stupid and it makes me so angry when I think about it because it's just, that was a moment for me that song could have gone. And since then, that song's not really ever gone in the way that I think that it could have. Yeah. I mean, it's had its moments again, but God knows did they try so hard to promote that song after that. And it's like, you already fucked it, guys. That song had its chance, and you totally threw it away for all of us.
Well, this is what we're saying. I mean, labels do stupid shit, you know?
They just make stupid decisions.
With us, they're like signed to the label, had to sit out 2 years essentially while we threw a little song here out, a little EP, waited to do finally got the album, finally got the dream producer, completed the album, was about to finally, like meeting number one, I performed in the office of the heads of the label. And what they said to me as soon as I finished performing was, wow, that's awesome. We just need to get you in front of people. Cue 2 years of sitting at home, waiting to be allowed to be in front of people due to lockdown. My management have lined up an 86-date world tour in which we'll be performing to, I think, 150,000 people across the tour.
Amazing.
And it's happening. Like we're taking our equipment, we have everything ready to the airport the next day, and we will be following it 8 or 9 days later to start the tour in Seattle. And the label just go, no, we don't want to pay for the tour anymore. And they withdraw funding and we get dropped at that point. It's just like, it makes no sense. It makes
150 grand to them is nothing.
Well, it wasn't even 150 grand.
Sorry,
it was 150,000 people. So yeah,
I don't know what your tour budget was, but I'm sure it wasn't. It was a drop in the ocean.
Well, to put 3, it wasn't 150 grand, I'll tell you that. And to put 4 guys on the road for 6 months, we did it as cheaply as possible. Yeah. Anyway, the point being, they make decisions that make no sense, but that in the process can sometimes like destroy our careers, or at least stall them, you know? So anyway, more power to Sam Ryder. It made me twice the fan I already was when I saw that he did that. What a legend.
I think that's super, super cool.
So yeah, just going through things that are happening that make myself and Greg every now and again send a little message to each other going, something's bubbling up here. Something's happening right now in the industry. And those are just a few examples. And we're going to keep bringing examples like that to you in the podcast. Maybe every now and again we'll do a little news segment like this and bring you up to date, because what we've also realized talking to our friends and family is there's things that among musicians are like very well known. Like all of these stories, if you're a musician, many of them you will have already heard about, but we're not just broadcasting to musicians with this podcast. We want to bring people in the inner circle of information that wouldn't otherwise be in there. So yeah, something's happening. Revolution's coming.
Hard to make change if we're just talking in an echo chamber to musicians. You know, musicians all know that it's difficult, but if the people providing us with the living don't know it, then we're fucked.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people just think, hey, I stream that artist a lot on Spotify. What more can I do? And it's like, thank you for being one of the people that connects with my music. But also, if you stream it 1,000 times, 1,000 times is what? Like, right there, 1,000 times on Spotify, 10
it's
times.
Like $3. Right?
It's $3.50.
Yeah.
And there's not many people stream your music 1,000 times in a year. So
no.
Yeah, it doesn't pay for the next thing. Spotify as a user is an incredible user experience. It's very hard to argue with that. Many of the other streaming platforms have caught up with it. We can't hate on what they've built as a tech company. But the fact is they are a tech company and they're a marketplace really. And they should, if they're to kind of stay with the standard model of marketplaces online, like Apple take 30% of App Store downloads, which feels high, but yeah, 30% is their markup. Spotify have basically sold the music industry in its deepest, weakest, most vulnerable hour on the idea of unlimited music streaming for $9.99. Now, none of us were asked about that and whether it was a good idea. It all was just a deal worked out with the labels. They initially started illegally putting music catalogs on there without permission, and then they went and asked forgiveness instead of permission to the record labels, and they wanted to legally license the catalogs of all music that the big major labels owned. So they couldn't afford to do this. So they instead gave stakes of their company, like shares in their company, to the record labels, which many allege has led to favorability on their powerful playlists for major label artists. So you've got an inequity there for artists. You've also got shady backroom deals drawing up the royalty rates on Spotify that none of us got a say in. So what we've ended up with is a royalty rate that averages, it varies depending on who's listening in which country and whether they're on the free plan or the premium plan, but it averages about a third. I think it's 0.35 cents per stream. It's
0.003.
No, a lot of people get confused with that because it's $0.0035 per stream.
Wow.
Which equals 0.035.
$3.35.
So $0.0035 is 0.35 cents.
Okay, to
so
put that into context.
It's about 3 cents. 3 streams is just over 1 cent.
For a million streams, which is really hard to get, if you own everything, it's $3,500.
Exactly, yeah. That's a million streams. And that's going to everyone. That's got to be shared between everyone. Your label, if you have one, your manager,
$3,500. Sounds like a lot of money, but a million streams, I don't know if you know, that's hard to get. My last single, bearing in mind I have 165,000 monthly listeners and 30,000 Spotify followers, got 8,000 streams.
Right, yeah, exactly. Which, I mean, what is that then? So
you want to know what 8,000 streams amounts to?
Yeah, work it out.
Let's give people the cold hard facts.
Yeah.
$28.
$28 in his pocket. He doesn't have to give that back. Doesn't have to share it with anyone.
You know how much I paid my fiddle player and the mandolin player on that song? A lot more than that. And then I paid $500 to get it mixed, $100 to get it mastered. I paid probably over $1,000 in musicians. I mean, I had to pay $49 to distribute it, which doesn't even cover the distribution. It doesn't even cover half of the distribution, basically.
So at what point will you break even on that single then?
I took it down.
Never then.
Never. I took it down because it's so. This is why I'm not going to put my album on Spotify. It's because it renders it worthless.
Yeah, we've all just been basically encouraged to sign up to this cult of freeness, which has not only convinced all of us that our music's worthless, it's convinced our audience that music is just a thing that they should expect for free.
But it's not free to make it. It's not even close to free to make it. And not, despite what Daniel Ek said.
Exactly. In direct contradiction to a Daniel Ek quote from 2024, in which he said the cost of making content in 2024 and music is basically free. Right? Free.
Oh, well, let's go back to musicradar.com, which is a pretty respected website. His earnings over a 12-month period are reported to be equivalent to 115 billion streams. It's reported that in the last 12 months, Spotify founder Daniel Ek earned more from the platform than any artist ever.
Wow. He must be talented. I've never heard his stuff. Have you? What are his songs like? He strikes me as an EDM DJ.
I don't need this anymore.
So yeah, not every platform is equal in the way that they behave and the way that they pay artists. The issue that I have with streaming is amazing. I don't want to stop streaming music. I don't want you guys to have to stop streaming music. But unlimited streaming of music, we were sold a lie. It doesn't work. It does not work. It certainly doesn't work for $9.99 a month or $10.99 a month. Or even if you put it up to $11 or $12.99 a month. It doesn't work because we need to be getting at least 1 cent, 1 penny a stream. And you can't get that unlimited for that much. What I would like to see is if we just look at the $9.99 a month model, I would like to see that limited to 700 streams.
Right. So there's a limit. There's a cap on it.
There's a limit. That means that the platform gets their 30% for building the platform, for all the marketing they do, for all the staff they hire. They run their operations on the 30%, just like iTunes used to. And then 70% goes to the creators of the music, the owners of the copyright, the owners of the publishing. At that point, we can start to really build something, you know. It doesn't mean we're all going to be doing great at a penny a stream, but I can certainly say that my streams are lower on Apple Music and my payouts are higher, despite that.
Is that right?
Yeah. So if we could get all of the platforms to that as a starting point, we'd be doing great. And also, when you actually look at the streaming habits of most listeners, they wouldn't hit the 700 stream cap. Some power users would, some super listeners would. I'm sure some of the people listening right now would, but would you be that mad if you got a little pop-up saying, hey, for the last 3 months, you've hit your cap. Maybe you should join our $14.99 a month plan and that will cover the amount of listening you do. I think people would be fine with that. And I think if they run a cafe or a bar and they have to pay $40 a month, $30 a month to get the equivalent of unlimited streaming for them, they're 12 hours a day that they're open or 10 hours a day or whatever, then that's fine too. This is all the music in history that was ever created and is ever still being created. And you add 700 Sorry, no, 900,000 songs every week to that plan. Like, what do you want?
It's no disrespect to the listener. It's not your fault. You're just listening to music as cheaply as possible, which I totally respect. But for us, the creator, the product creator, it's very challenging.
It's bundled now. Music is bundled. If I want to get YouTube Premium because I'm sick of the adverts every 47 seconds on a YouTube video, I have to get the YouTube Music plan bundled in. They just throw it in. Same with Amazon Prime.
So
bundled in.
We're a bundle, yeah.
We're just a we're just the bow on top of the package now. It's insane.
It's totally
and it costs
insane.
a fortune. Never mind the hours input. It costs so much money to make quality music. Well, it's a good time to sound the alarm because it's right before we're going to have this gigantic wave of AI created music that is already hitting streaming platforms. There's a tsunami of that coming. And I think that's going to lead to a massive degradation in the quality of music on platforms, for one. But also, I think it might destroy a few of them. Because if you're constantly being fed this shit and then you look, even if you like a song and you look, who is this artist? And then you look and they're not, they're an algorithm. There's the AI music company Endel, who they make AI kind of like relaxing playlist music, soundscapes. And they've entered the market by collaborating with a lot of artists. So they'll get like an artist like Novo Amor or like, I think James Blake did something with them. And it'll be like Endel and James Blake in collaboration on this song. And James Blake will input some ideas he's got. The AI will expand on them and stretch them, and then he'll pick through them and he'll arrange a song. And it's really good, right? It's really good at the end. But they're also starting to release stuff that doesn't have those artists now that they have a bit of credibility from them. And they're starting to credit themselves, the CEOs of the company and the chief coding engineers. I'm sure that's not the job title, but
God.
The coders are starting, the chief devs are starting to...
Written by
me and the CEO and my keyboard that I typed the code on. Yeah.
Using algorithmic data from songs that we've written, probably. Not me and you, but it's basically plagiarism, and then they're saying...
Could be me and you. We could be in there.
Look, it probably is, Matt. It probably is.
They've fed millions and millions of songs in there, and these, I guess they're not called large language models. These machine learning music models are taking that data that they didn't ask us that they could use, and they're claiming fair use. They're claiming, it was in the public domain, and all we did is our AI listened to it. It just listened to it, just like you would listen to it, and it trained itself. Just
right. But if I listened to your song called Hollow and then wrote a song called Bollo that sounded exactly the same, you'd probably sue me.
But they're just to, fuck them. But just their argument is, if Greg listens to 1,000 songs, and then from the influence of those 1,000 songs, writes a great song that's not a copy of any of them, then that's fine. So why can't our AI listen to 5 million songs, and then output? It's. They've got a point. I guess it's fine. Let's move on. It's not fine. It's not fine because we're humans, and this is a super intelligent, superpower that this thing's got. And it's a corporate company, for-profit company, that is using our shit to make new shit, and they should pay for that.
Who wants to listen to that crap?
It's pretty good, That's the scary thing.
Right, and I guess most people won't even know because it'll be on a playlist. They'll just get fed to them.
No, I was quite disappointed. I opened Apple Music, and that's the streaming service I use, and there was a sound generation playlist, it was called. And I went into the playlist and I listened for a while and I was like, this is really good to concentrate to. And it was Novo Amor, who's a great artist, producer, but it was Novo Amor and Endel. And I was like, I recognize Endel. And I know these two artists. And then suddenly I was like, oh,
Endel's a robot.
Endel's an AI algorithm.
Look, I am not going to stand here and say, fuck the robots and fuck this and fuck that and fuck this, because I've done that enough, and I understand why it's gone in this direction. I just personally don't love that it's gone in that direction. It puts artists in a really precarious position, and it puts listeners in a position where in 10 years, you're just going to be listening to AI created music. Robots.
Yeah.
are going to have made all the music they're listening to. And in 10 years, the kids that are 10 years old right now, when they're 20, they're not going to know the difference. They're not going to care about the difference. Maybe there'll be a small amount in the punk scene that like, F that, I'm going to go listen to the Ramones. But the general population is going to listen to AI create music, and the job of a songwriter will be no more.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
And that means that those songs that you heard that were a whole new thing, the first time you heard, examples for me, like 33 God by Bon Iver. And I was like, holy shit, this feels like a whole new thing. Or like the In Rainbows album or OK Computer by Radiohead. And I'm like, yeah, I recognize where it came from, but this just pushed a boundary. This is like this just taught us something new. I don't think an AI that learns from what already is can innovate in that way.
Yeah.
That means we just keep repeating the same cycle, and we just degenerate down into the lowest common denominator, and we miss out on art. And also, this like great art has a whole narrative around it. It has a whole meaning and purpose socially around it. It's commentary. It's commentating on a time. We can go back to a period of culture, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, noughties, whatever. And we can be like, what did it sound like? And why did it sound like that? And why were those the lyrics? What was going on? The Vietnam War was happening then. That's what he's talking about. We're going to lose that as well. Like these are the things that are at stake right now. And I think what worries me is that we're passively sleepwalking into this future because we're all distracted by these like hyper addictive short form reels, which are about to get even more addictive when AI gets involved. And we're not. We need to start actively curating what we listen to and what we support with our ears and also with our money. Like, we need to find artists that we love, and we need to be like, okay, I know that if I don't support you, you're going to disappear. So let me do that. And that's what I'd like to, if we have like an overall movement that's wider than our stories in this podcast, which I believe we do, and we're just growing into it. We're just discovering it along the way. That's what I would like it to focus on. I'd like our listeners to be educated on this and just to be awake and aware and to start actively curating what they put into their brains music-wise. That's our sphere of influence anyway.
Well, honey, which memories you keep? Hey, will you ever come back, babe? Did you ever feel my space? I got lost in the fugue, stayed like I got insomnia, and I will be lying awake here till the sun swallows us whole.
So, Matt, the last challenge you set was to play a concert for our neighbors. Each of us to play a concert for our neighbors.
Yeah.
Which was like a lightning strike of anxiety for both of us, I think. But so, well done. Where are you at with that?
I have floated a few dates with the hole that I work out of.
Okay.
That my studio is in the back of. And I'm going to try and nail one of those down this week. I have sketched out what I kind of think it will look like. Chatted to a couple of other artists who might be joining me. I've even come up with a potential name for the night. And I've worked out where I'm going to promo. So basically, I've done all of the planning. Now I need to pull the trigger and start promoting it. I need to lock down the date, print the flyers.
Lock down the date?
No, I need to lock down the date because I've given them a few. And then I need to print the flyers.
Wow.
Start putting them out and make it happen. Yeah. What about you?
Fucking awesome. First of all, good job. That's great.
Thank you.
It was a good challenge. I appreciate the challenge. It didn't scare me away. And
I'm
as
excited.
we talked about, when you set the challenge, all it did was kind of give me this fear of it's this insecurity where I was like, what can I possibly provide these people?
Yeah.
That blah blah blah. You listened to the last episode. I have similarly done a lot of planning. I'm going to do it in this room.
Right, nice.
Which, as you know, isn't huge. And so probably will fit about 15 people in it. Mm-hmm. I've told all my neighbors about it.
Have you already? Wow, you're ahead of me there.
I told them because I knew that once I said it, I would have to follow through. I haven't told them a date yet because I haven't set a date because I'm traveling a little bit, but I will be doing it soon. I've already thought about the layout of the room. I've actually hired a videographer.
Wow.
That's going to come hopefully and shoot it. And so, yeah, I've got a lot of planning. I just haven't sent out the official invite yet.
That's cool. I guess yours could be like an album listening party as well, couldn't it?
Yeah, something like
you
that.
You could have that looping in the background and then play a set.
Trying to think about how to best do it. Again, it's just that fear of like, it's that Northern English fear of thinking like, I don't want to look like a big-headed, arrogant knobhead. You know, I don't want to contact my neighbors and be like, but yeah, I don't want to contact my neighbors and be like, so I think I'm so amazing that I'm going to grace you with the honor of coming to my house while I sing songs for you. Like, that just feels so wrong to me. But if I present it in a way that it's like, I got this podcast, I got an album coming out, I'm going to do this small little listening party at my house. There's going to be a film crew there. Like, it's going to be a little easier to swallow for me in that regard, you know?
It's like exposure therapy for you, I think, because that's totally like, that idea of that anyone would think, oh my God, my neighbor is so big. Do you know, he invited us to his house the other day, darling, to listen to him sing. Can you believe this man? Like, no one's going to do that.
That's
They're going to be like,
what I think.
Oh, that sounds fun. That sounds fun. Yeah, cool. Let's go and do that.
That's what I think.
Yeah, but why do you think that? Because of bullies
probably because
putting it in your head.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know what it is. I've always thought that. Do you know, I used to, when I headline tours, so I hate headlining tours, is I'd be backstage about to go on, or I'd be on my way to the venue or whatever. I'd be like, if they don't like it, do I need to give them their money back? Or I'd be like, what if they don't think it was worth the money that they paid for the tickets? Like, that's something I think.
I've had that bit.
And I go on stage and I have this insecurity. Like, what if what I am about to give them is not worth the money they just paid for the ticket? Are they going to get mad at me? Are they going to ask for their money back? I
think you're like the opposite of a narcissistic sociopath.
But
like,
I am
whatever the exact. I don't think you are a narcissist at all. I think you're the
nicest
opposite.
Thing anyone's ever said to me.
Yeah, but like I haven't seen any evidence of you being remotely narcissistic across this whole. You make that like little joke every now and again, but no, you like being on stage. You like sharing your art. You like that thrill of being the center of attention or whatever. Like, that's one thing, but being a narcissist is like at the expense of others, putting aside all the needs of everybody else. Like, that's when you cross over into that, which is, it's fine to, as a human, like to do things that get you credit. That's not narcissism. Narcissism is when it's kind of like, fuck everyone else, I am going to get mine at their expense.
Yeah, that is actually the opposite of who I am through and through.
Yeah.
To all aspects of my life in the end, I guess, for better or for worse. But
I think it's good that we've identified these things in ourselves and that we're using the challenges as a way to inoculate ourselves against them. I think that's a really good use of the challenges. We just keep doing these things. And
if you could put like a mic on me when I'm playing a show.
Yeah.
And when people clapped, you heard the noise that I made when people clap. It's like this.
Really?
It's such. I have like a deep discomfort, even though I would be devastated if no one clapped. When people clap, I am unbelievably uncomfortable.
Really?
Yeah, it's so weird, man. Like, it's like when someone gives you attention. It's such a what's the word for me? It's I don't know the exact word to use, but it's like I want people's attention, but when I get it, I'm so uncomfortable. And so it's this push and pull of like, I want people to come to my shows, I want people to listen, but then when they're there, I'm like worried that they're not going to like it, or I'm uncomfortable with the applause. I literally grit my teeth and go when people clap.
Wow. If you could put a mic on me when people clap, you would hear, yes, good, very good. Yes, more of that.
My plan is working.
My plan is working perfectly. This feels perfectly natural. Just a few more claps,
so weird.
Please.
Like, sometimes I'll do the thing where, like, you're supposed to do when you entertain, like when people clap, you do the thing with your hands and you throw your hands up and you get them to do more applause.
Mm-hmm.
And when I do it, I'm like, you fucking idiot. So that's what I say to myself.
Oh my God, you are like the worst music critic ever for yourself.
It's just, I think it's an insecurity of being in the limelight that comes from either the way I was raised or where I was raised. It's something in there that's just always there, even though I've been fighting against it for 20 years trying to be an entertainer, but it's just always there.
It's because you belong down the mines
just
in the dark.
At me. It's just
on your own, chipping away at the rock face, the coal face.
Should have been a coal
or shearing
miner.
sheep. That's where you belong. Just lonesome, feeling sorry for yourself in a field or down a mine. Same with me.
Wonderful right now.
I should just be banging at sheet metal, building ships on the River Wear in Sunderland. But unfortunately, they closed the mines and they closed the shipyards. And this is the fallout, Maggie Thatcher, if you're listening, which I know you're not.
This podcast is the fallout of you
this
guys
is
doing
exactly
that.
when that was being reported in the 80s of what was happening in the north of England to the industry. And they were like, what will this mean for the people of the north? This is what it means. We have to be bloody singer-songwriters and whine about it on a podcast now. Thanks a lot, Maggie Thatcher. So yeah, one thing we've been discussing with future challenges is that we need a few more ideas, and who better to give us them than you, our listeners. So if you do have any ideas of what you think would be a good challenge, hopefully you've listened to the episodes so far, you understand the ones we've been setting and doing, and we keep it along that thread ideally. But if you've got ideas, please send them to us on Dropped Podcast on Instagram. The DMs are open. Or you can, if you're a patron, you can get us on our DMs there or in our chat group. So wherever you can reach us, droppedpod@gmail.com is another way, in the comments section of YouTube. If you have ideas for challenges, please send them our way because we need more.
Currently, we have no idea how many people are going to get in touch. So we'll take any ideas and we'll vet them ourselves.
Yeah. And also outside of the challenges, remember that we do have an email inbox and an Instagram inbox that are open to you guys. So if you want to send us a voice note with feedback on the show, tell us what you've been enjoying, ideas for the show. If you want a little bit of advice, if you're a young artist, the DMs are open and the email account is open too. So yeah, let's start talking, everyone.
And that reminds me, we actually have gotten a few emails from you and a couple of video messages that have been thanking us for our podcast. So we just wanted to shout out those people who have reached out and given us words of encouragement and have tried to connect with us, because that is what we would like to do here. And so we will always reply. And we will always support you in any way we can. So thank you so much for listening to our podcast. I hope it doesn't sound like two guys just complaining about the music industry. What we're trying to do is find a way to change it, or find a way to at least evolve on our own terms. And we're not here to just complain. We are here to enlighten and to grow.
I hope it does sound like two guys complaining about the industry.
Yeah,
because this industry needs to be complained about sometimes.
We're basically an AM radio talk show.
Next week, prank calls.